If we're splitting hairs, I would say that I trust the future of this country more under the leadership of the Trump and the Thiels and the JD Vances than I do right now of the Harrises and Reid Hoffmans.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Dumbmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. The biggest news in presidential politics this week may not be coming from that giant infomercial known as the Democratic National Convention. In fact, the convention may be upstaged by a YouTube interview conducted with RFK Jr.'s vice presidential pick, Nicole Shanahan. In that interview, and the kind of the big story coming out of it, is that the RFK Jr. campaign may be winding down, and there may be an endorsement of Donald Trump coming out of that, which would be huge when you look at polling today and all the numbers. But for me, it's not so much about what may happen. It's the comments that Nicole Shanahan made during the interview that didn't make as many headlines. In fact, you can see from the clips we're going to share right now, Nicole Shanahan has absolutely zero love for the Democrat Party, and if she has her way, I think the RFK Jr. campaign and all those resources will be going to the Trump campaign. While that remains to be seen, we can look at what she says about Tim Walz, about the DNC, and a bunch of other topics where she shows that she has this vendetta for what the Democratic Party has become. This is a story in political idealism, folks, that I think is worth talking about. But before we get there, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you see in here in this or any other video on the channel, you guys already know what to do. You got to smash that thumbs up button. You got to like, comment, share the show with your friends. All that really, really good stuff, because all that's going to feed the YouTube algorithm.
Just feed it.
As always, thank you guys so much for all that you do to help grow the channel. You know I really appreciate all of your efforts. And for all you newbies out there who may have found the channel for the first time today, I'm glad you're here and I hope this video earns your subscription. By the way, quick programming note for everybody. Tonight, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going back behind enemy lines to discuss live the possibility of an RFK Jr. Trump endorsement, as well as any news that breaks later on in the day. All right, we got all the grifting out of the way now, so let's get into this interview with Nicole Shanahan that was conducted by Tom Bilyeu. Great interviewer. He does these long-form interviews really well. His channel is linked in the description below. Check it out. But we're going to talk about Nicole Shanahan's comments about the DNC and their presidential ticket. Okay, gang, we're going to start out with Nicole Shanahan's opinion of the vice presidential nominee for the Democrat Party, Governor Tim Walz from Minnesota. What does she think about this guy?
All right, then what do you think about Walz as VP?
I love his jazz hands.
And jazz hands.
I will say they're really good at branding over there.
They certainly are. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Think about what the DNC has done. They've taken a rigged primary for Joe Biden, kicked him to the side, brought in Kamala Harris because the branding is so much better than the feeble mind and feeble body of Joe Biden. Now there's this giant love fest going on in the Democrat Party. You see it on the TV with the DNC in Chicago, certainly. And I'll agree with Shanahan. Democrats know how to brand. They're great with the sizzle, not so much with the steak necessarily.
Waltz is somebody I think was a relatively safe choice, but you know, he only sells in an environment in which stolen valor is not like a big deal, right? He has lied about his military background, and if you are a veteran, you look at Waltz and you're appalled that this is not a patriot. This is somebody who has lied, who was terrified of being deployed, who was kind of sneaky and you know, tried to use his military service as a political talking point.
And by the way, we discussed all this last week when we went behind enemy lines with my co-host, Ross Galloway, who, by the way, himself is a retired command sergeant major from the National Guard. So he knows a thing or two or three about that rank and what it means. We discussed that in depth in the video that you're going to find right now in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Check that out later.
And his peers in the military have only negative things to say. So that matters a lot to people who care about these things. Unfortunately, there's a massive population here in the United States that thinks about stolen valor as no biggie. And so my concern is more about that there's so many that aren't taking this seriously than I do about the man himself. But obviously, if the man himself then becomes elected by this population, I think we're in trouble. This is not like the values, the moral compass that is being just accepted as normal by this segment of the population is scary to me.
I couldn't agree more.
The way that Shanahan went about discussing Walz tells me she's very much a political idealist, maybe even a touch naive to be running a national campaign. She hasn't been in politics very long. In fact, I think this is her first foray in putting herself out there on a ballot for an election, although she's donated money to Democratic causes in the past. But it tells me that she's very naive. She's one of those true believers out there. She's one of those people that seems to be operating on common sense, which is very rare to see in politics, let alone national politics. And she's clearly the type of person, at least from what I'm hearing in this portion of the interview, that doesn't go down a party line. She has a code of ethics. She has her own values that informs her political opinion, not the other way around. Her political opinion does not inform her values. It's very refreshing to see. In fact, it's the basis of the work I do with my book. If you look at my t-shirt, you can't see it on the whole screen, but if you go to shop.buffoonoftheweek.com, you'll see that it says that there are 3 options: Republican, Democrat, and sick and tired of electing buffoons. I think she would fall into that third category. So being this, I'm going to call her an election neophyte. She may not necessarily be a political neophyte because, like I said, she donates to different causes, I'm sure. Being new to election politics, it's clear that her idealism is going to be jaded by the process by which we elect the president. It's very much a machine process. It runs over these small third-party candidates. The system actually works against third-party candidacies. Makes it very hard for them to qualify for the ballot in all 50 states. You need a machine behind you to do all these things, and there's only 2 machines that do it on a regular basis: the Republicans and the Democrats. So I'm sure this experience, especially in dealing with the DNC, who has been actively working against the RFK Jr. campaign, I'm sure this experience has really turned her sour to Democrats in general.
I will say that Clear Choice, this PAC, this DNC-aligned PAC that was created specifically to take us out, has spent millions of dollars to take us out. They have unfortunately turned us into a spoiler. And we don't want to be a spoiler. We wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot.
See, statements like that definitely inform that she's very much a political optimist, a political idealist, a happy warrior, if you will. And talking about fairness in elections, unfortunately, Nicole, you found out that elections are blood sport. It's nothing fair going on here. There's nothing fair going on in an election.
The rules are, there are no rules.
It's about 2 things: money and people. The more money you have, the more you get your message out there. The more people you have out there, the more your message gets out there. And ultimately, the more money you have, the more you can utilize it to suppress other campaigns that may not have as much money or as many people as they do. Unfortunately, I think you found that out firsthand. I never go into a political battle thinking it's going to be a fair fight. You got to pull out all the stops when you can. That's a lesson I'm sure that Nicole Shanahan learned in this particular race, because the DNC, as she started talking about, was absolutely merciless against RFK Jr. You may recall from other videos, and by the way, we're going to put that in the upper right-hand corner of the screen as well. You may recall how RFK Jr. discussed how the DNC changed different rules in their primary process for this year to stop challengers to then nominee and incumbent Joe Biden. And how ironic is that, by the way, now that they've changed the rules again, apparently, to allow for a designee rather than a nominee, someone they're just going to install, or has installed already by the time this video is made.
They just make it up as they go along.
RFK Jr. found that out firsthand during this process when he wasn't allowed to be on the ballot in many states, how if he appeared in early primary states or early caucus states, those delegates would automatically go to Joe Biden at that time. It was completely crazy.
Politics, man.
That's politics?
Yeah.
That's politics?
The DNC made that impossible for us. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They've even planted insiders into our campaign to disrupt it and to create actual legal issues for us. I mean, the extent by which the sabotage they've unleashed upon us, it's mind-blowing. I mean, we're still learning new ways that they have sabotaged us.
This is the dirty underbelly of election politics. There are tons of dirty tricks out there that happen all the time. She mentioned just a few of them. Lawfare. I know in the People's Republic of New York, there was a lawsuit brought to keep RFK Jr. off the ballot that I believe is now being appealed, having to deal with his residency issues, which is further draining that campaign of money and resources to have to fight these battles in a state like New York, where he's lived most of his life and still maintains a small residence, apparently. That's all going to be decided in court. But yeah, politics is dirty, Nicole. And I'm sure you had to do a lot of wising up when it came to what Democrats will do to other Democrats who are not going along with their party line.
I really wanted a fair shot at this election, and
Don't we
I
all?
believed in the America that a little girl, pledged an allegiance to. And that is not where we are today, and it's not because of the Republican Party taking us out. It is exclusively because of the Democratic Party taking us out, and I am so disappointed I ever helped them. I am so disappointed that I helped Chuck Schumer in that Georgia runoff secure a majority. It's probably one of the biggest mistakes of my life, and it's really devastating. So to answer your question, we are not spoilers. That was never our motivation. We really wanted a fair shot.
There's a cycle I see when people enter politics, especially they enter institutional politics, they enter election politics. The start of it is the excitement and the idealism of that first run. For me, it was a run for New York City Council back in 2009. I had just gotten into party politics, into institutional politics, having been a young lawyer. I had just turned 30. I was going to run for city council. I had this whole plan of running an idealistic race on the issues. I got trounced. I got absolutely destroyed. A Republican in Brooklyn, New York, and the People's Republic of New York City, I didn't even break 20%.
You suck, you jackass.
She seems like she's at that same stage that I was at when my ideals were shattered. I was hit in the face with the reality of what campaigning was, what election politics was, and now I'm out for scalps. I'm out for revenge, and it seems like she's out for the Democrat Party.
I think had we had a fair shot, we would have won. I still would love to see in the last 80 days of this election some miracle play out where we get a chance to debate. I don't think they're going to let us. And, you know, given this, I think we are taking a very serious look at making sure that the people that have corrupted our fair and free democracy do not end up in office in November. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard, Tom, to say these words because it's also acknowledging how bad things are.
It's an acknowledgement that what you thought the process would be is not what the process is. It's an acknowledgement of the idea of what politics should be like, what election politics should be like. A discussion of issues, the free exchange of ideas. It's not that. It's dirty, underhanded tricks. It's lawfare. It's management of resources. And it's really, really gut-wrenching when you first enter it and you're confronted with these realities. But I think Nicole Shanahan now is out for blood. Not necessarily literally out for blood, of course. Let's not go there. I'm not talking about political violence of any stretch of the imagination. It's vendetta. She's out to stop the people that has shattered her idealism, that being the Democrat Party. And when we come back, we're going to go further in depth into this thinking of what's next for Nicole Shanahan and RFK Jr. going forward in this race. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
All right, there were rumors going around that RFK was in talks with Trump, that he was in talks with the Harris camp for a potential endorsement to either of them if they could give him, I presume, a spot in one of their cabinets. Is there any truth to it? Would love to hear about that.
Definitely not in talks with Harris. Definitely never have brought up this idea of an endorsement with Harris. Definitely have never brought up a cabinet position with Harris. So those are the MSN just taking something and spinning it in a way that makes, their chosen political group look good. Fake news.
That's very interesting to hear. And it backs up my idea that this is vendetta, that the RFK Jr. campaign, that Nicole Shanahan, they don't want anything to do with the dirty politics, the corrupted politics that is the Democratic brand, that is the Kamala Harris campaign. She wants nothing to do with that. There's been no contact there. And honestly, from the perspective of the Democrats, this is quite stupid. You should want to bring these people into the fold and all the support that they have as well. Why wouldn't you want to grab another 6, 7, 8% of the vote in different places? That should be important to you. So the short-sightedness of ostracizing RFK Jr., what the Democrats have been doing for a very long time, going back to that committee hearing with Jim Jordan and what the hell is her name? Debbie Wasserman Schultz, going at RFK Jr. By the way, that video is going to be in the upper right-hand corner of the screen as well. We put in a lot of videos up there for you guys to see, to sort of go back into. We don't want you to memory hole any of the dirty tactics from the Democrats towards RFK Jr. here. So the fact that the Democrats haven't reached out to this part of their own party, really, because I'm sure, being a California lawyer, Nicole Shanahan is not going to be leaning towards the right. Why aren't they reaching out to this part of the constituency that could help them? That would be a slam dunk against Donald Trump. Instead, they've chosen to ostracize it. Not smart political thinking.
With, that being said, we have offered to talk to everybody about what your policies are, who's going to be in your cabinet. Do you want to hear any of our takes on policy and what might work? We've open sourced our platform very proudly. And I will
just want to point out, this is another sign that she's a political idealist. She wants to talk about issues. She has a platform that she's passionate about, and she wants those points to at least go forward in whatever administration there is going forward after the election. This is the best of politics, in my opinion, when you want to be passionate about an issue, a cause, not have anything in it for yourself, but that you believe it's right and just and moral. I don't know Nicole Shanahan very well. I've never really heard her speak about politics, but I can tell you she exhibits one of the main takeaways I have in my book, and that is character matters. Character counts. You can be Kamala Harris and shift with the political breezes out there about whatever position you want to have. You hear that, no taxation on tips is cool? Adopt that position. You hear that no fracking is cool in Pennsylvania? Adopt that position. Whatever the case may be at whatever given time. That seems to be what Kamala Harris's political career has been all about. But I can see Nicole Shanahan, she has her principles, she has her ideals, she has her goals that she wants to put forth regardless of who's in power. She wants to talk to everyone. These are positive, good qualities that we don't really talk about too much on the channel here, and maybe I should more often. Let's get back to what she has to say.
I will say that Trump has taken genuine, sincere interest in our policies around chronic disease. He takes it seriously. For that reason, I think it behooves us to sit and see if we can actually make some real change. And if that is a unity party, I think that it is something that we absolutely owe to the American public to explore.
This could be a game changer.
I appreciate the pragmatism. And while I think a unity party in this day and age, especially on a national level, is sort of pie in the sky, I do see the idea that she's putting forth of adopt part of our platform and we'll support you in your candidacy. I can certainly see that going forward. And we'll be talking about that later on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, going back behind enemy lines, of course. But to wrap this all up in a bow, I wanted you guys to see what political idealism looks like, especially after it's been trounced by the monolith and the machine of politics. Nicole Shanahan, I have so much empathy for her right now. I don't know her from Adam. I don't know her political leanings. She has certain policy positions that I'm sure I can look up later on. But just as a human being on that level alone, having gone through having the machine eat you up and spit you out, I certainly empathize and I feel for her position here. I'm rooting for her. I'm genuinely rooting for her because we need more people like her in politics. More honest brokers out there who are willing to put their ideals out in public, to put it on the table and say, here's what I stand for. Will you support me? Will you vote for me? That's what we need. We don't need these manufactured, glitzy candidates that are a mile wide and an inch thick like Kamala Harris, as you're seeing at the DNC right now. I don't know what music's being playing during the roll call as this is being made. I'm sure it's very snappy and very cool. And they got all these celebrities out there. They got the Eva Longorias out there. They got the Little Johns out there. And that's all great. It's a spectacle. But at the end of the day, if there's no substance behind the spectacle, what the hell are you going to be voting for? I'm rooting for Nicole Shanahan, not only now, but also in the future. And if you guys have an opinion on this, I want to hear from you. Let's get into the comments together and discuss this video. And as always, like and share this video with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the shows. Let's get down to talking about character in politics. Nicole Shanahan seems to be exhibiting that right now. I hope she holds on to that idealism, even though the machine has been beating her down. I hope she holds on to that sentiment. And I hope that you guys will find me in the comments later today to discuss this video, as well as all the other shenanigans and buffoonery happening every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.